And the final movie of the night, we have the Stepfather. And this one was remade, I think back in, what was it, 2009? I haven't seen the remake. I've not heard much talk about the remake since it came out. I'm going to assume most people forgot about it. But the original movie follows a somewhat interesting plot. This guy who is potentially mentally unstable murders his family. Then he, over the course of the next year, he marries this other woman. And the woman has a teenage daughter, and things are going okay. But then his family starts to sort of get some family issues going on, and he sort of loses control of what's going on, and this idea of the perfect family is dissipating. So he sort of loses control and tries to take care of business in the only way he knows how. So this is a movie I've seen maybe 3, 4 times before. It's a movie I actually really enjoy. I think a lot of it has to do with Terry O'Quinn. I think his performance here is pretty fantastic. Especially toward the finale. Like this, he sort of has like a mental breakdown type thing, and that scene alone, like 10 out of 10. So it's just I think it's a really enjoyable story. The teenage daughter trying to figure out, hey, is it just me or is this guy sort of creepy? I enjoy that, and there's just a decent amount of suspense here. But and this is, I suspect we're going to some extent disagree about this movie. So what do you think about this one?
It's okay for me. I don't particularly. I've seen it, I think, just once before. I've definitely seen it once before, but I don't think I've seen it many more times than that. And I remember thinking it was decent the first time I watched it. Still nothing special, and watching it again, yeah, pretty much the same type of feelings. Maybe not maybe even slightly less. I enjoy. I think the way it opens is pretty good. You see him kind of completely change appearance, and as he's leaving the house of the dead bodies, that's I like the idea of the movie. I think the performances are okay. I didn't necessarily think, outside of obviously the lead actor, no one else really stood out to me. So the daughter, she kind of bugged me at times, partially because I think, especially earlier in the movie, she's just giving this guy a hard time for what seemed like no reason, and then obviously later there becomes a reason, but just...
I know. To be fair, if your father died and like just a year later your mother's getting remarried, I can see why that might be an issue.
Yeah, she still kind of bugged me.
If it makes you feel about that, she was going to therapy, so maybe she knew that and was trying to fix herself.
Yeah, well, I think it was more that she was probably forced to go to therapy, but either way, the characters didn't do all that much for me, and even though there's a couple of scenes where he's bashing someone or whatever it may be, looking back on it, I only watched it yesterday, and I can recall certain scenes, but I don't feel like there's anything that a year later from now I'm going to be thinking of, looking back on, or trying to see again from the movie. So I guess what I'm trying to say is none of the scenes were special enough for me. The ending's decent, but it's still just okay.
Yes, yeah, I differ slightly. There's at least like 4 or 5 scenes that I think are really great. I mean, when he's beating the one guy with the 4x2, you know, I just think it's a really solid sequence. It's not like overly gory, but I mean, it's pretty brutal in its own way, and it just shows how like utterly maniacal that guy is. He's just so out of it. And like you said, the opening scene I think is fantastic too. Um, seems like a nice clean cut guy, and then boom, he's walking by like all these bodies and he's just whistling. So a lot of this has to do with I think what is probably Taylor Quinn's finest performance, and I also like the whole subplot with the brother of the woman murdered at the beginning, trying to figure out who did it and trying to capture the guy. That was probably one of the least captivating parts of the movie, but I still thought it was pretty decent. And I don't know, it's a movie that I think is consistently enjoyable, and the whole idea after this like really old-fashioned, strict father type guy trying to make the perfect family. And I feel like you can really tell that he thinks it's possible, but boom, if they disappoint him, then he's already moving on to the next, next family. So I think it's a really interesting modus operandi, especially, like quitting his job, and for 2 weeks his family thinks he's going to work, but he's just scoping out another family, and then he finally just kills them and goes on to the other family. It's fun, and I sort of wonder how many times the guy has done it. We're not really given any type of answer in the movie, but I suspect that family at the beginning was not the first time he did that. The guy, I feel, is like just way too insane for that just to be his first time. So I don't know. And also another sort of small thing, when he's talking about his family to like one of a little girl in the movie is trying to sell a house to, it's like, oh, my daughter jail. It's like, oh, I thought you said your daughter was Stephanie. It's like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, my daughter's Stephanie. No, the guy's so out of it. He forgets his name half the time. Well, not half the time, but I mean, he's just mentally imbalanced. Fantastic performance. It's a movie I find really enjoyable, and I know that some of the sequels that came out afterwards were lackluster, and I suspect most people probably haven't even bothered with the sequels. But the first movie itself, I just think it's a really solidly made movie. I don't know, I just think there's a lot of things in this movie to enjoy. Obviously, I really like it. In fact, the whole like the "Who Am I Here" scene, which is actually on the poster, that's actually probably one of the few really memorable scenes from a horror movie I really like, because he's just having a utterly complete breakdown. He does it. I just really enjoy it. Probably one of my favorite breakdowns of a psychotic killer in a movie, and it's good stuff. So I'm just going to throw this one my rating. This is easily the best movie tonight. 9 out of 10.
Just for anyone who's listening to this as a standalone movie review and not listening to the whole show, we did just discuss Terminator 2.
Yes.
And you're saying this is by far the best movie tonight.
Well, to be fair, I gave Terminator 2 an 8.5, but which did I enjoy more? Definitely the Stepfather.
Wow. I give it a 6.
That's pretty much what I thought. Same rating as Paranormal Activity. So
yeah,
kick in the face.
I would probably enjoy it on the same level as Paranormal Activity at this point. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, that's a 3 out of 5. That's an average rating for me.
Well, I'll say that if you haven't seen the movie, you should see it and make up your own mind.
No, just trust my review.
Or you can just trust Chucky, the guy who thinks Child's Play is the best horror movie ever made.
Are you saying that it's not?
Yes. And this comes from a guy who gave it like a 9. So.
Well. Okay.